Good morning, walkers, and welcome to City Walks. Hold on, let me flip you around here. My name is Henry. I will be your proxy walker today, your virtual travel guide as this tries to find my face. I don't know if the polarizer that I put on there is working or not, or maybe messing that up. But proxy walker, virtual travel guide. This is a slow, relaxed travel channel is what I'm trying to market it as. I'm going to flip you around here so you can see the actual scenery. Try to do that. 1, 2, 3. There we go. We are up in Highlight Canyon today, and we're going to walk up to see Palisades Falls. We're going to start at the East Fork of Highlight Creek here, though, because it's a neat little picnic area. Palisade Falls was requested by Tom, one of our Patreon supporters. So thank you, Tom. At first I was thinking Palisade Falls was in Yellowstone. First I thought it was Passage Creek Falls, which is down in Paradise Valley. But then I did a quick Google and realized you were probably talking about this. This is actually East Fork of Highlight Creek, and flows down into the reservoir where we've all seen a couple times now. Beautiful, calm, relaxing creek. I just love it flowing through these dense pines and so quiet and relaxing. I'm gonna have to come up here and film for Amazing Nature Relaxation channel at some point. Sorry about the breeze. It is about 10:30 in the morning, 32 degrees Fahrenheit, 0 degrees Celsius. It is quite cold. You can see that the snow is still up here. We don't have any snow down low anymore. We got a nice little brisk breeze blowing, and I'm not quite dressed for it, but I am gonna take some bear spray with me when we get on the trail. And I will have to, actually I forgot to put that in my pocket, so I will take a break here in a minute just to put that on. But I just want to show you this picnic area. And then Palisades Falls is up there somewhere, I believe, about 1.1 miles. And should be an easy walk. 250 feet of elevation gain, so not much at all over 1.1 miles. You see you got a pit toilet here, which is quite redolent. I really empathize with the Forest Service trying to keep up with all the visitation that's been happening the last couple of years. I don't think their budget cycle can account for it. They need to be able to have funds to come up here and empty these things and service them, and they just don't have that yet. So hopefully they will get that. Here's the map, the trailhead. I'm going to come right back. And we're back. Thank you for that. I had to get my bear spray. It's cold, but not quite cold. The bears could still be, or probably are still, in their hyperphagia pre-sleep, winter sleep. Palisade Falls is 0.7, it says. According to All Trails, it's 1.1, but they have redone a lot of these trails and roads up here. It's pretty amazing what they've done. It's a little sad, I guess, nostalgic. They've paved the road around, which has been dirt, really rough road for a long time, but it's been getting so much usage that it probably needed to be paved. And this trail seems to be paved for part of it anyway. I like the way things were, but we don't get to keep things the way they were. So the best thing we can do is to make them as good as we can going forward. Nostalgia is sort of the sadness for things the way they used to be, or the way that we remember them to be. I think, as I've said this before, I went to a grad program in science and natural history filmmaking at Montana State. And here's some tracks. I don't know if these are dog. Must be dog tracks. and they had a term, colonial nostalgia, where it talked about the idea that as a people moves in and changes something, and then they all sort of glorify or enshrine the way it used to be, this more primitive state. And I think it was mainly in terms of like Western people moving into less developed areas, taking them over, and then, thinking, oh, back in the day everything was wonderful. But it applies too to here in Bozeman and southwest Montana. As more and more people move in here, it's easy for those of us that moved here a longer time ago to nostalgize the way things were when we got here, which is it's understandable, but it's also a little hypocritical, and I'm guilty of it, and it's good to be aware of that. But look at this beautiful, quiet forest trail. Oh, Tom, thank you for suggesting this. This is wonderful, and I think I mentioned the road is paved, but it's paved along the main road. This is a side road to get up here about a mile, and it is not paved. And I think this is about the latest I'd be able to get up here in my little Honda. It was pretty icy and slick. It is also hunting season right about now. So I was a little leery of going to Passage Falls, which is down in Paradise Valley, because that's prime hunting habitat. And there were a lot of rigs up here on the way up, pulled off and heading out into the woods to go try and find their critter. But I feel like this is pretty safe. It's pretty popular and probably not likely to have any, or many hunters in this area. And the reason I said is I should have worn some orange, but I remember the bear spray, so that's a good start. And we'll just go out and back. And I'm actually going to slow my pace down a little bit as we go uphill. It's getting kind of icy, as you can see. I'm wearing some trail shoes, but not great trail shoes for this. Should have worn my boots. Look at that. I love a snowy forest. And despite my talking, which I've gotten a surprising amount of feedback, which is pro talking. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. I always forget to say that in the beginning. It does help me out, and will tell YouTube that this is a good channel to recommend to others. And I appreciate that. Leave me a comment. I love your comments. As I was sort of saying, someone pointed out, I've worried sort of a bit about, well, am I limiting my growth by chatting when so many other channels have just ambient sound? And they're great channels, and they grow quite significantly. But someone pointed out, there's plenty of those that don't talk, and not many people that do. So they valued this for that reason. So that was very validating. I appreciate that. And it enables me to jibber jabber on. Another comment, which I was a little surprised because I don't feel particularly knowledgeable, was commenting on the info I was sharing about the natural places. So I'll try and do a little bit more of that as I think of it, recognize it. We got some spruce tree, beautiful spruce tree there, that darker one. And then I think these are probably Doug firs, but I'm not really sure. They could be lodgepole, Pinus contortus, and the spruce are Tsuga, Tsuga is a genus. I don't know I can't remember what the, look at the light on that rock up there, what the species name is. Menzii, maybe? That's one of them. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. I'm speaking as if I'm an expert, but I'm really not. Oh, beautiful sunlight warming things up. I also like these. Out west we get a lot of lichens on the rocks. And it just adds such a splash of color. Sometimes they'll be green like that. A lot of times they'll be orange. So I was talking about putting on a polarizing lens filter. Sorry, not a lens. And I got this $20 thing off Amazon. I don't even remember the make of it. And I can't, it's such a challenge to rotate the polarizer, because a polarizing filter you need to rotate, typically a circular one, depending on the angle you're filming. And with the gimbal of the Osmo, there's no way to lock it down. So I'm trying to hold it steady, and it's kind of fighting me, and I'm trying to turn the little dial of the polarizer, and I can't really tell if it's doing any good or not, or if I have it turned correctly. We'll see when I post this tonight for tomorrow's walk. I try to post on Mondays and Thursdays. So you don't have to be a Patreon supporter to suggest a walk. I can't always take you up on those, but if I can, I like to. So feel free to put any suggestions down in the comments. I do keep a list. I don't always remember to look at it, but some blue sky up there peeking through. I love seeing this beautiful, seemingly healthy forest. I say that as we come up to a dead spruce here. We walked through last weekend a big burned area in Deep Creek, South Fork of Deep Creek. And it was, as I stated in my last walk, that's part of the natural process. And just because it's burned doesn't mean it's not a healthy forest. But to see this full, mature forest is, there's something peaceful about it. Oh, getting a glimpse of these big rocky peaks surrounding us. Oh, so beautiful. Just lovely. Absolutely lovely. You can see some of this mossy lichen stuff coming off. I think that's lichen coming off those branches. Looks like Spanish moss is not actually moss. And here we are coming up to the falls. Looks like we're getting close anyway. Oh yeah, there's a little peek of it. This trail reminds me a bit of Ouzel Falls over by Big Sky. I've done a couple over there walks, one in the summer and one in a nice little snowstorm. So check those out. That's also a very highly trafficked, more so than this, very well maintained trail. Very popular. So we'll see the falls up here, and there's a nice little stream below us that we'll take a look at as we walk back down and get a different view. And so stick with us. Ooh, look how icy this is. I don't know if you can see how slick that is. That's all ice. Get this. Oh, look at that. Through there. Oh, heck yeah. We'll see if I can get over there. So I try to make my way up. Got a little bridge here. Ice covered. Ooh, slippery. Luckily it's pretty rocky too, so there's some traction. Whoops. Alrighty. Palisade Falls. So those rock formations are, I should know this, but they're similar to ones in Yellowstone, of course. We're not far from there. But also they have them in Scotland that reaches over to Northern Ireland, which is, I think it's the Devil's Causeway. Might be the Devil's Staircase, but I think it's the Devil's Causeway. Or Giant's Causeway, that's what it is. Finn McCool and the Giant. So it's a volcanic, it's a result of volcanic rock cooling in a specific way. You can see that it sort of chunks off over time, creates these scree fields, talus fields, and then you can see it's from freezing and thaw cycle, but also look at those plants clinging to the side of that cliff. As Jeff Goldblum would say, life finds a way. It's a terrible impersonation, but you get the idea. All right, beautiful, beautiful waterfall. Let's see if we can get down here without losing our footing. Should have brought a walking stick or two. Very carefully putting my feet in various places. On tops of rocks, trying to make sure I have something for my shoes to grab onto. And we're going to go off to the left here. See if I can get a view up this valley, and I'm not the first person to do this. You can tell by the little tamped down snow. Oh, little rock cairn left by someone. People I don't know what the motivation of that is. Sometimes it's to mark a pathway, but we all sort of want to leave our mark, be heard, be seen. Sort of trying to find my way through this rock with 3 points of contact in some places. There we go. Now look at that. Isn't that beautiful? I just love it. So nice. I'm gonna try and dolly shot over here. And there are trails. I don't know about that particular drainage, but off to the left there's a trail up to 2 separate lakes. I haven't been up there in 20 years, but I know that's there. Fun little place to go. Steep, I think, and not going to happen this year for us, but maybe a future walk would be good up there. Try to make my way back. All right. See the icicles off the side. You can see also, I think, the rocks and the way the ice sort of builds up on some of this stuff. So, let's see if I can get a little closer. You know, it tumbles down to the rock, sprays a little bit, lands, freezes, sprays, freezes, sprays, freezes. Awesome. All right. Let's head down and we'll see. We're going to come back to the creek a little bit. But first, got to get down this luge-like trail. It's a little easier than up there because I can get off to the side. There's a little blue sky. It's trying to peek through. Little spritzes of sunlight from time to time. I know it's selfish, but I love having this trail to myself. Well, and with you guys. I love that we have it to ourselves. Look at this big tree. Came down a long time ago. Didn't help that one. Look at these. These are some aspen trees, I think, and maybe, I guess they're all aspen. The bigger craggy ones look like maybe there's something else. But maybe it's just aspen contorted by the weather. Oh, here we go. Let's go take a look at this stream. I don't know why I'm whispering. Look how pretty that is. So peaceful. Oh my gosh. Guys. I really wish I'd brought my amazing nature relaxation setup for up here. Just love this slowly flowing water, gently burbling, making its way down. I sound like a hypnotist. And sleep. Just joking. Alright. It is hypnotic though. Hypnotize myself maybe. Alright. I've said this before as well, but I love the way things look different on the way back. And actually, the book I've mentioned a couple times as well, Walking by Shane O'Malley, talks about that a little bit, about how the optical flow, which is the view of things going past, it's kind of hardwired, I think, is what he said. And so that's one of the reasons that looking backwards in a different direction looks so different than when we go through. I mean, there's obviously a different view physically, but our perception of that view is also a little different. I'm not doing that book justice, but it was an interesting read. A lot of medical, technical stuff, but that I didn't quite take in, but a lot of other stuff too. A lot of good stuff. This is the time of year, the sort of in-between, that is a little tough because you got these icy spots, which are not great with shoes, but then you got long stretches of dry, which is not great with the things you can strap onto your shoes, like yak tracks, or there are other kind of spikes that you can put on there, sort of baby crampons, you know. I love how the layer of snow softens those lines of the bushes, and then the underside of the branch, which is on the other underside, gives that sort of dark outline. I really did not expect this trail to be paved. I think this is fairly new. And I think I want to say they moved the trailhead, but I don't think they did. I've been up into that picnic area before, a long time ago, and it was maybe not quite as nice, but certainly there, certainly present. Ooh, there we go. Nice little close-up of a snowy tree. We've got Halloween coming up here in a few days. And it's actually been really pretty warm. By now we've usually either expecting a massive cold front coming through or have had a massive cold front come through. And we've had a little bit of snow, obviously, but we haven't had the really deep freeze that we often get. They are calling for a very cold, heavy winter. We'll see if that works out. I know the news is blaring headlines of bomb cyclones and nor'easters right now in the U.S. I think just reading headlines is always a little misleading. There's a little oasis of not yet frozen. One of the things I found interesting from the classes I took before the film program, I took some ecology classes. I needed to improve my GPA, one. Also needed to improve my science background, and to get into that program. And then, they have an excellent ecology and wildlife program at Montana State University. And going to college I know a lot of people don't get that opportunity, and I don't want to underserve it, but when I went to college, I did have the opportunity, and I sort of took it for granted at 18. I wish I'd taken a gap year. But when you go back for a purpose, and you have some life experience as to what life can be like, how it can be dull and boring and a real trudge if you allow it to be, it's a big motivator to go back and study something you're really interested in. And there are 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds who do that and find that, and I envy them. But that wasn't my story, but when I went back, I just loved it. And this was a very long way of getting around to microclimates. So one of the things I learned was that animals will, one of their survival strategies in severe weather is to find microclimates. So, a rabbit or squirrel might find a sheltered space underneath these trees where it reduces airflow and has sort of an insulatory effect. Birds will do the same thing, as well as they'll puff their feathers out. So if you see a little sparrow in winter that looks fat, it's probably just puffing out its feathers, and what it does is trap air underneath those feathers, and of course there's no blood flow through the feathers, or very little, and that traps air, which allows them to insulate their body and retain heat. I thought that was really interesting. And then of course you get birds also have, and possibly things like moose too, have something called countercurrent heat exchange, where they change the circulation in their legs. Waterfowl have this often, so that they're somehow, I don't fully remember how it works, but they change the circulation in the part of their body, the legs typically, that don't have any insulation and then are exposed to something like cold water. And so they're somehow allowing the oxygen to be there, but without circulating that cooled blood back into the core. I don't really know exactly how it works, but it's vaguely like that. That's my understanding of it anyway. Please, if you guys know, that's the kind of thing I love to get comments on. People that are more of an expert than myself, sharing their knowledge and sometimes gently correcting. I welcome that. And of course, trail suggestions again. But anyway, there's a little nature tidbit for you. I was telling somebody about this channel the other day, and we were talking about YouTube channels, and I was talking about when we were over in Europe traveling around, the BBC had a show called Walking with Dogs, or something like that. Walking the dog, and it was literally just going around walking, taking the dog for a walk through the countryside. And they had more to it than just walking around, but I thought that was such a great idea, such a BBC thing. Loved it. And there was a show we watched called This Farming Life, and I love that show. It's so relaxing, and I like to describe it as they follow these farmers, and they do everyday farming stuff. And people expect you to say more, because in the U.S. these reality shows all have to have drama and tension and conflict, and that show just didn't really have it, and I loved it. Maybe a cow would get stuck and the neighbors would come over and help, or they'd go help a neighbor, and just pleasant people being pleasant. And it explained a lot about the farming life, which I thought was interesting. Here's some sunlight. I hope the camera's picking that up. I gotta get this little polarizer figured out. The level of complexity in filming a simple walk is surprising to me. Oh, listen to that. I hope this microphone is picking that up. I'll get closer. You hear that? It's these trees somewhere up here. They're rubbing together, creating this sound. Oh, it's this dead one. And it's, I think, leaning up against this other trunk up there. And as the spruce, I think it is, moves around, it rubs against that dead trunk, making that wonderful sound. Well, I was worried this wasn't going to be a long enough video, but these little side quests, I'll call them, are working out. Hope they're interesting for you guys. Another comment I love hearing is, and I know not everybody looks to these for this, but people are getting out there and they're, maybe they're in a big city, or they can't leave their house for whatever reason. Maybe it's the current situation, maybe it's restrictions, maybe it's health reasons, but they watch these on their treadmill or their exercise machine, and they say, and I love this, that these videos are useful, they say that it helps them get through the drudgery of just simple exercise, and I love that people are getting that value from them. It makes my day to hear it, and people be like, oh, I lost 10 pounds or 20 pounds. I'm like, yes, awesome. For a while, someone was commenting that they were working their way through the entire library. Oh, I just thought that was great. I love hearing that these are being beneficial or serving a purpose, a greater purpose than simple entertainment. Entertainment's of value, of course, but we all, I think, want to make the world a little bit better. And so this, I don't think this is really snow for coming from the clouds. It's just sort of blowing out of the trees a little bit. If you see clumps falling, small little powdery clumps coming down to earth. Oh, we're back to our parking lot, but I want to go back over and look real quick at that other creek, the East Fork of the Highlight again. And we're going to skip walking past the pit toilet because, well, it stinks. So I love, one of the benefits of having a trail that's paved like this in better weather is it's accessible to more people. And it's nice for people that aren't able to walk to be able to get wheeled up, or maybe that can walk but not very well, to have that more accessible, more achievable.
Is it very far up there?
No, ma'am. It's pretty close. You're welcome. Some other folks are up there walking, asking how far the falls are. Hopefully that isn't too loud. Oh, I love this creek. We're gonna go down a little bit too. Love that view. Let's go down there too. This, what we're walking on, this open Pine needles is super soft and spongy. Not like a bog or anything, but it's like one of those rubber mats they have for people that have to be on their feet all day in one spot. Like check out people and people working at a workbench. That looks a little marshy and frozen. Look at the ice. It froze and then contracted and split up. Very cool. I want to get back to that creek. Oh, here we go. Perfect. Oh, look at this. And I know you like the chatter, but I'm just gonna sit here and we're gonna enjoy the sound of this creek for 10, 15 seconds. Here comes that sun. Hopefully that pan wasn't too quick. Look how it's undercutting that massive tree over there, and the roots are still propping it up. It's kind of interesting. This deadfall makes a little dam that diverts the water, and then this one diverts it back. And all of this fallen wood and rock, and it creates this really dynamic environment for what they refer to as macroinvertebrates, which are really just bugs, and puts nutrients into the water system, and that feeds the macroinvertebrates, which then feed the fish. And the fish feed the eagles, and sometimes the bears, and the coyotes, and the otters, and the badgers, and maybe a raccoon or two, and on down the line, a whole system of life built on sunlight and water. Oh, lovely. Let's go back this way. Sorry to be doing these quick pans. I'm trying to be a little bit more mindful of that, but I get kind of excited about showing you guys things. Whoop. And a little distracted. Look at this. Oh, so pretty. I love this creek. This is fantastic. Oh, just pretty. Okay, well, thank you guys for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so, please. Give us a like if you like it, of course, and leave us a comment. Give us your suggestions, your corrections, your expanding of information that I might have said or missaid. Come back next time. I'm not sure where that's going to be, but until then, keep on stepping.